Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene for Living World of Darkness rage across New York, the Cairo venue. Tonight, William and Talataheen have travelled, probably by one of Will's kinfolk giving them a lift, or simply just walking through the city. Neither of them really minds the idea of long walks. In fact, Will may even encourage Talate to do that, so that she gets to see a bit more of the city. And yeah, basically they will head out to, I believe it's an area out in Queens, so it's quite far away. To a place that William only visited once and only very briefly. However, he has revisited this place multiple times in his own mind, in his dreams. Dozens of times, in fact. And it holds special significance for him. Talate isn't quite sure where they're going. Will hasn't really said, he just asked if she would come with him. But they arrive somewhere, basically the bottom of a street, and Talataheen would recognize it, because she has once been there also in Will's mind's eye. Although it wasn't quite the same. But she recognizes it from the place she met Naomi in Will's dream, the lamplit street. It bears a resemblance, although it's not as caricatured and not as extreme as Will's memory of it. It actually looks just a lot more normal than the slightly foreboding line of nondescript houses that Will remembers it as. And yeah, Will basically stands at the end of the street, and Talate can tell that Will is nervous about coming here.
Yeah, she can tell. However, she's pretty nervous as well, especially with such a long walk through the city. It's not something that she's used to, so after the third or fourth time that Wells kind of had to pull her back because a car was approaching from a direction she didn't watch, or one of those bike messengers almost drove over her, ride over her, I don't know. She starts to grumble a little bit as they're going. Especially because, yeah, she prefers to know where she's going, and she was very hush hush about it, which annoys her even more. So she's standing next to Will, her hands kind of in her pockets, even though she wears her gloves and hoodie pulled over her head. Um, but when she does recognize the place, she actually looks up at Will, and the annoyance that's in her that was there during the walk kind of fades away as she looks at him. Why are we here?
Something I gotta see. Something I need to collect.
She nods. All right.
Will, walking down the street, kind of clenches his hands nervously. Yeah, and basically walks down the street the same way that he has done in his dream multiple times. Walking from puddle of street lamp light to puddle of street lamp light.
Yeah, Tlatin follows him, but as she notices him tensing, she, well, fuck it, she would do it. She'll actually take one of her hands out of her pocket and grab one of his. More reassuring than anything else. Like,
Will looks at her slightly shocked. I'm not shocked, but surprised. This isn't very Talataheen-ish behavior.
no,
But
it's
then
not.
he just smiles at her, and yeah, she can tell that he clearly seems to be kind of comforted, and he'll squeeze her hand back. and yeah, walk on. And yeah, as they walk down the street, the large houses looming. It is the middle of the night right now, so there's maybe a few lights on, but not many. They come to one house that's very different to the others because instead of being having a front gate and a hedge and a little front lawn, and then being a kind of three-story, reasonably old for the Americas kind of building, it's actually surrounded by a uh, large, the kind of things you might have around a building site, like large wooden, almost like a palisade around it with signs saying danger, keep out, unstable, health hazard, by order of the New York City Fire Department. And behind that, you can see still the outline, but of a blackened and burnt, even now, even over a year on, building. I looked through some of the city records. I got Marco to do it, and I saw that this place hasn't been refurbished or knocked down. I guess it's more profitable to build new houses for companies than to remake old ones.
Um, Clara nods. She doesn't know anything about houses and building and economics or whatever, but she looks to the place, and it's kind of weird. Um, she has only seen this in his dreams, and then it looked, of course, quite differently. So, although she feels that she's already been here, it's still also quite new.
In Will's dreams, this place is imposing and, well, not scary or terrifying. It's significant. Most of the houses around it in Will's dream are probably blank, almost like a kind of facade of a house, as Will's memory of them is basically unimportant. But this place was cast in huge detail, and now it just looks like a burnt down house. It doesn't look like anything particularly special. Will kind of steps forward and looks up and down the street, and yeah, will basically kind of like jump up, put his hands on top of the thing, and pull himself up, and offer his hand for Talate to follow him.
Yeah, she will definitely need help. Although Tlatin being who she is, she will first try to do this on her own, but short as she is, she, even in the first jump, already notices that she will never make it unless she does take Will's hand.
Yeah, Will obviously happily kind of like hoists her up a bit, and yeah, helps her over, and makes sure she's not dropping too far on the other side before slipping over himself into the darkness. There's no street lamps reaching this far in, and you can see that the front lawn is overgrown. No one's been mowing the grass. And the house itself, there's all sorts of kind of debris, however, out among the tall grass. And the house itself, the windows and doors all appear to have been kind of many of them appear to be broken, and all of the windows that are remaining are blackened. And the front door is boarded up with a like a board, basically. Like there's not a door; it's just a yeah. And again, the warning sign saying "Do not enter, unstable building, dangerous." Blah 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 blah. And Will just kind of looks at Talate and yeah, walks up to the door.
Yeah, she will continue to follow him. Definitely letting him take the lead on this. This is important to him, and she is just there. so she'll follow.
Will goes up to the board that's been nailed in front of the door and tries to kind of pry it open. Sees it's pretty firmly shut. Grumbles under his breath. If you keep a lookout, I'm going to try and take this off, okay?
Yeah. She'll walk a bit away from him, a little bit more in front of the, well, whatever was left of the yard. And yeah, we'll just keep an eye out on anyone passing by.
One thing Talate does notice is that Will probably could get in through one of the windows, but he doesn't. He seems to be very insistent on going in through the front door. And yeah, Will shift up to Glabro form, giving him a pretty strong strength and powerful claws. And Talate will hear a kind of like a sound of like wood being broken, maybe nails being popped out of the stonework. And after about 30 seconds or so, Will has basically successfully kind of torn off a corner of the building. He wasn't trying to be too loud, but there's still a fair bit of noise. Once he does it, he pauses for a second. I don't think there's an alarm.
She doesn't turn back to him immediately. She just kind of keeps an eye out still, or like any passerbys or anyone behind a few windows that are still like have some light behind it. See if there's any movement. She slowly takes a few steps back into his direction, and will finally turn around. Don't think anyone is paying much notice.
If someone turns up, we can just run out the back.
Mm.
Anyway, I'm gonna go in.
You want me to stay here?
She can tell that Will is clearly nervous and almost trying to like hide his fear and apprehension. Like Talate has seen Will fight terrifying worm beasts and launch himself into combat against all sorts of creatures, including traveling to the Flux realm and being regrown from one of his hands. But Will seems, really nervous, almost like a kind of child scared to go into a dark room or something. I'd like you to come with me, if that's okay.
Of course.
Will smiles and takes a deep breath and ducks in through the gap he made into the old house.
Latin will walk in as well.
Inside, the place is cold, firstly. Not like entering a house. There's debris filling it. You can see that a big part of the upstairs, kind of the ceiling and floor of the upstairs rooms has fallen away. All the walls are blackened and charred. Although there does appear to have been some level of kind of like a cleaning, not cleaning up, but cleaning past through the debris of the fire. You came here with me and Naomi. You know what this is, don't you?
Yes.
Will walks into the room and kind of stands. You can see he's almost like checking his feet among the debris. Right here. This is where I became a Garu. Right in this spot.
Is it? Hmm. Is it difficult to be here?
Sort of. think I built it up so much in my own head. It's just a burnt down building.
It's still the beginning of your story, in a way.
At least this chapter.
Yes.
I was standing right here. She was. I can't remember the names. The girl I came with was standing right here. And he. I can't remember his name either. Was right in front of me. He pushed me. I told him to stop. He pushed me again, and I'm not 100%, who I killed first exactly. But knowing what I know about the frenzy, I assume it was him.
I've
And probably her next.
understood for many homets born Guru, first change is unclear.
What was it like for you?
The other way around.
Will kind of cocks his head.
You know my breed form. You know how it feels to be in Krynos. Imagine being like that all the time when you were born. Always more angry. You know how a mantis gets born. Do you?
You've told me. Others have talked about it.
Yeah. It's most what I can remember. Being angry, being afraid, then being angry again about being afraid. I mean, I was a child, so the other Garou had no problem containing me. My first change, it was like a calm that came over me. Like some of that emotion that you feel that's just lifted. It's easier being in a helmet. People accept you
You
more
prefer
in
it, don't you?
those. Yes. I don't like the way I was born. I think no Mattis does, really. We are not proud of what we are. That is not possible. Not with what has happened and what has happened every day after we were born. Can you imagine a baby being hungry? They cry. Imagine a Mattis baby being hungry.
Will nods and kind of looks down. Talate kind of knows Will's general kind of feelings about this, and he hates that she is ashamed of what she is. But there are certain truths and certain undeniable facts that Will finds it hard to accept about the way Talate was born.
A while ago, you said, well, they were not exactly your words, but I had the feeling that you've been envious of me being in the nation all my life, understanding more of what it is to be a Garu.
I remember saying that.
But being born like this, it's not a blessing. Sure, we may have more insight in the nation because usually it is all we know. Rarely a Metis can go out before their first change. It's just too risky. But it comes with the downside of constantly being on the brink of frenzying. Amongst other things.
Can't imagine. Although, when I said that, obviously I wasn't in my right mind. It did come from me. And I think it's a different kind of tragedy. Truth is, Talate, my childhood was nice. It was quiet. I didn't have my dad there with me, but I didn't know to miss him. It was pleasant. What can I say? I had a good childhood. I was loved. I think what I meant by that was I can remember that. I know I don't have it anymore. I don't know which is better. To have something and lose it, or to never have it in the first place. Anyway. And Will begins, just kind of shrugs, and still in Glabro, begins kind of rooting through some of the rubble.
What are you looking for?
Something from my dream. I don't know if it'll be here, but yeah, he basically begins looking through.
Do you want me to help?
You just being here's enough.
Alright. Yeah, Kathleen will kind of squat down somewhere where she's not in the way.
Will takes a moment. There's big piles of rubble, bricks and beams, and yeah, all sorts of pieces of house basically that have fallen and collapsed, mostly. And Will then, yeah, finds after kind of rooting through the rubble for a few minutes. He just stands up and he's clearly holding something in his hand. And he takes out actually what looks like one of the like a pillowcase from their cabin, and puts the thing into it, almost kind of reverently. He's not really hiding it from her, but it is dark.
Yeah, I mean, Latine is keeping an eye out on him, like, basically the entire time, but she's not trying to pry, so it's not that she's gonna extra try to do her best to see what he has.
Will then walks over to another part of the room where it's actually nearer the windows, and begins looking through another pile of rubble. This time, not kind of like moving things back, but more like kind of on his knees, like moving dust aside and stuff. And yeah, again, looking for a few minutes, again in Glabro, until he can see that his hand's kind of like just pulling through the rubble, and then all of a sudden his hand pulls out, and there's a muffled yell from Will of pain.
She'll jump up and run over to him.
He's kind of like doing that thing where you kind of flick your fingers when you've been burnt. It's all right, like I'm all right. And he will shrink down into Hamid and put his hand back in, and he'll bring out of the rubble a small ring, and he'll kind of blow some of the dust off it. It's black and kind of covered in crap, and actually she can see that it has a small finger bone in it that Will kind of takes out and puts back in there, almost like burying it again, and kind of pats the rubble. He blows on this ring and spits on his jumper and rubs it slightly, and as he rubs off some of the soot, Talate can see the glint of silver.
She raises an eyebrow and then focuses back on Will. Looking a bit more sharp than before.
I've got a small scar on the top of my mouth. And when I've been here in my dream, although I don't remember it, my subconscious obviously does. The girl I come with, I bite her hand. And I yell in pain. She just has a silver ring on. I don't know anything more about it. Will just kind of takes it.
That's silver.
He nods.
Why are you holding it?
It doesn't burn me when I'm a human.
Oh. Right.
Apparently it doesn't burn lupus either when they're a wolf.
Still, what do you wish to do with the silver ring?
Will kind of turns around where he's sitting, and on the burnt and blackened concrete floor, smushes aside a little space, and pulls out the other thing, takes it out of the bag, and puts it there in front of Talate. And almost very surprisingly to Talate, knowing Will and knowing how Will feels about this sort of thing, it is basically the kind of the top of somebody's leg bone, a femur. She puts them both out there.
She looks at them. And there's really one thing only going through her mind as she looks at it and looks back at Will. Are you collecting trophies? She looks confused because that's not Will.
Not trophies. Almost the opposite, maybe. Reminders. But I don't want them to be useless reminders anymore. I don't want to wallow in the guilt of what I've done. I don't want it to hold me back. I've done terrible, terrible things. But that's just how it is. Terrible things happen in this war, and I can't let fear of doing them again cripple me, or forestall my actions, or stop me doing what I know needs to be done. I know that. I need to stop wallowing in guilt and pity for myself. I'm going to wear this ring to remind me of that. I'm going to take it with me and bear it with me. And I want you to do something for me, Talatine.
Another eyebrow raise? Yes.
I want you to make me a weapon. I want you to make a weapon for Gaia out of my guilt and out of my pain and out of the sorrow and suffering that I've caused. I want to turn those feelings that hold me back and hurt me into a weapon against the worm. I want you to make it out of this. And I'll push forward the blackened bone.
She'll take it. Actually hold it up, study it. It might be pretty brittle.
From what you and the Galliards and other members of the Sept have said, spirits need something of significance to reside in. Something that almost is like a form of chiminage. I want, if you would, to bind some of the pain spirits that I've caused, some of the spirits of suffering, into that weapon, so that I can use that suffering to bring justice and death to the enemies of the goddess.
Tlatine looks like she's about to say something. But she won't. And instead, she'll simply nod and says, I'll see what I can do. But yes, the material is of importance. But all facets of the material is of importance.
I've already thought a bit about that. Do you remember when we were cubs? We went to Astrofusa.
Yes.
We came back and he offered us the bow. He'd grown for that Black Fury. I'm going to use part of that bow for the handle and ask the Great Spirit if he would provide twine to bind them together.
I see. I'll see what I can do.
I'm going to have a go at crafting the shape myself. Or you could help me. I want it to look like... And he brings out from inside one of the kind of like compartments of his jacket the knife Tapisha had, the one that he's actually just been using over the last few months as his kind of auxiliary weapon. I want it to look like this. I want it to be in the style of your tribes.
I can do that.
Well, nods. And he actually takes the ring, and it doesn't fit over his index or mid finger, but it does happily fit over his right fourth finger. And he basically, to kind of removing a little bit of more of the grime, puts it on. Even Hamid itches a bit.
Clatine mostly seems to be in thought. She's still kind of holding the bone, still studying it.
Do you think what I'm doing is strange?
It is something that I have failed to understand. Most Hamid-born Guru, and even some of the Metis.
Fail to understand what?
Seem to give so much importance about human lives. They mean so much to you, even when you don't know them. Yet, when you look at it, humans are slowly what is, well, poisoning the earth, killing Gaia.
You sound like me.
Why?
Me when I was, you know, touched by the wild.
Right.
It's not, you're
Well,
not wrong. That's the truth. There's a time when I said you were wrong, but it's not. Humanity is killing Gaia. It is. Can't deny that.
even if all humans would care, it would still, it's simply their numbers. Even if they would spread out across the earth, there would still be simply too many humans. If you look in a city, 100 humans wouldn't be missed. I mean, as individual lives, perhaps, but not in a greater picture.
And what's the alternative? The truth is, Even when I was touched by the worm, the wild. Well, it doesn't say the worm, sorry. Even,
No, I figured.
even when I was touched by the wild, deep down I knew that we can't stop them. How many Gyro are there?
I know I can't.
5,000? 10,000? Even 20,000? Even if it was just the humans, if they knew about what we were and we fought against them, it would take them, best guess, a week till the nation was eradicated. If we restarted an Imperium. Not counting everything else is out there. We had vampires come up to our sept borders, take one of our own, and kill them. And it took us months to get even a petty revenge. We're not that strong. And we can't. So I won't consider killing all the humans.
Neither am
Because
I.
we can't. I know.
Do you? You're telling all this. This is no news. I knew this before I came to New York.
I know.
There's no point, and I am not a red talon filled with rage towards them that I would simply go and start slaughtering them. There's no point in it. It's not that that surprises me. It surprises me how fiercely you react to a life being taken. While I would not go out there and kill them just because I can, or because it might even be better, I do not hold their lives with that much value as you all seem to do. I would not go out killing them. But if they are in my way, I have no problems. If we need to get to a certain area and there are humans in the way, I have no qualms killing them. No problems killing them, sorry. Blah blah blah. And the lives that are lost because of our war. I've seen many of you mourn them. And I will not lie, as you know it. I hold no thoughts, nothing special for those who I've slain. They are simply humans, they are simply in the way.
We were brought up differently. I wonder if you feel the same about the humans of New York as you do the kinfolk in your tribes up in the north.
There's a difference between kinfolks
Not even
and
kinfolk.
humans.
The native peoples of these lands. Truth
They,
is... Go on, sorry.
they still listen. They still honor our ways. But not all of them. And although I would be more upset if someone of the First Nation, the First People, if they would commit the same sins that these people here in this city would commit to Gaia every day, I would have no problem killing them. This is a half lie. Will knows Slatine well enough to realize
Yeah.
that it is a half lie, but she never really had to worry about it, so it's easy to say for her. She's never placed in that situation.
We were brought up differently, Tate. Maybe logically you're right, but we can't tell what and who we love. And he pauses.
Yeah, there's a sharp look towards him as he says that, but she immediately looks away.
We should get back to Sept.
Yes,
Thanks for coming with me.
you're welcome.
It's funny. When I first came here, I imagine you probably heard it. I used to wake up screaming about this place. Guilt racking me, pulling me apart. And even for months after that, once it became normal, I'd still be intimidated by the thought of coming here. Now, I'm here, and he just looks around. I've done much worse things than this. But I also know I've done good things. I think about the
Yes.
Amazon, and I think about that spider. I think about the mother of scars, and I think about those skull pigs, and I think about that nuclear power plant, and I think about the North Woods. And I still regret what happened here, but we go. We don't have the luxury of wallowing in guilt for our whole lives.
I would like to give an alternative to this train of thought.
Sure.
You were a cub when this happened, and it left its mark on you. You didn't know nation. You didn't know what it was to be a Garou. You were a stranger. And you traveled down the road of the nation. And maybe it is, maybe now you can be here and look around because you found your place.
Well, nods. I have. I know I have. I know I'm a Guru. And I don't regret. I don't, for all my self-pity, I don't regret what happened. I don't regret being part of the Sept, and I don't regret what we've done, and I don't regret meeting the people I've met. Sure, maybe I wish the road was smoother, but if it had been, who knows how it would have turned out. I sometimes think if I hadn't had this such trauma when I was first a cub, maybe I wouldn't have found a unicorn. Maybe I'd have joined, I don't know, the Fenrir, or the Shadow Lords, or the Fianna, maybe. He kind of has a bit of a smirk at Talate.
She just shakes her head.
So yeah, this bone and this ring, they're not about forgetting. But they're about not dwelling in the past, not wallowing in what I've done. It's about trying to use that to strengthen me for the future.
It is important to you. I will do my best.
Thank you. I know we don't have the same values. Different tribes, different upbringings, different breeds, different everything. But I think that's what makes us stronger and good together.
We are family. You are my brother.
You're my little spring. Come on, let's go. Will actually says that in Inuk. And then he
She
says it in
nods.
Inuk. We should teach Raf to speak it. Packlink's all well and good, but
Hmm. I will need to think on that.
it's your culture. I'm merely a guest in it. Whatever you think's best.
He is still a Shadow Lord. I may trust him as a member of my pack. But my tribe might take offense.
I understand. And Will stands up and helps Talate up. He actually kind of dusts some of the soot off her, if there's any on her kind of clothes. Thanks for coming. It made it a lot easier, knowing you were here.
I said, you are my brother. And yeah, I think with that we can end the scene, or?
No, I think that's nice.
Okay. Then thank you players for playing, thank you watchers for watching. This was another scene for Living World of Darkness with you across New York.